There are moments in sports that stop time. Not figuratively, not as a metaphor, literally. The kind of moment where every person in the stadium, every fan watching from home, every analyst sitting behind a desk with years of experience and thousands of games in their memory, all of them freeze at the exact same instant. Breath held, eyes wide, every other thought erased completely. That is what Shohei Ohtani does when he unleashes a full swing. Not a check swing. Not a controlled, disciplined contact swing. A full swing. The kind of swing that comes from somewhere deep inside him, where every muscle in his 6'4" frame fires simultaneously, where the bat becomes an extension of something almost beyond human, where the sound of contact is not just a crack but a statement. A declaration. A verdict delivered instantly and without appeal. Taiwan came into this game believing. They had prepared. They had scouted. They had watched hours of footage, studied his tendencies, mapped his weaknesses, and constructed a pitching plan designed to neutralize the most dangerous hitter on the planet. Their fans were loud. Their players were ready. Their confidence was real. And then Ohtani swung. One swing. That is all it took. One full, complete, devastating swing that did not just score runs or change the scoreboard. It changed the entire emotional reality of the game. It reached into Taiwan's dugout and extinguished something that had been burning brightly just seconds before. It reminded every player on that field, every coach in that dugout, and every fan in that stadium that there is a difference between preparing for Shohei Ohtani and actually facing Shohei Ohtani. Because when he swings like that, fully, completely, with everything he has, you do not just feel beaten. You feel like you have witnessed something that does not belong in the same category as ordinary baseball. Something that exists on a completely different plane. People have searched for the right words to describe it. Analysts have tried. Former players have attempted explanations. But it was a Taiwan fan, sitting in the stands after the game, who said it most clearly and most honestly. Shohei Ohtani is like a baseball god. Not a great player. Not an MVP. Not the best in the league or the best of his generation. A god. And after what happened in that game, after that swing, after what it did to Taiwan's hopes and reality, it is genuinely difficult to argue otherwise. Stay with us. Because what Ohtani did, how he did it, what it means, and why that one swing carries so much more weight than just the runs it produced, is a story that every baseball fan on earth deserves to hear fully told. To truly understand the magnitude of what Ohtani's swing meant, you first need to understand what Taiwan brought into this game and what they genuinely believed was possible. Taiwan is not a team that arrives at the World Baseball Classic simply to participate. They are a nation with a deep, passionate, and historically rich connection to baseball. The sport runs through Taiwanese culture like a current, from youth academies that produce world-class talent to fans who follow every pitch with the kind of emotional investment that only comes from genuine love for the game. In recent years, Taiwan's national program has grown stronger. Their roster has become more competitive. Their pitching depth has improved. Their lineup has developed the kind of disciplined approach that can frustrate even the most dangerous offenses in international competition. They came into this WBC with something to prove and the talent to back it up. Against Japan, the challenge was enormous. Everyone understood that. But Taiwan's coaching staff had worked for months specifically preparing for this matchup. They knew Ohtani would be the central challenge. They knew that neutralizing him, or at minimum limiting his damage, was essential to keeping the game competitive. They had a plan. A detailed, carefully constructed plan built on film study, pitch sequencing, defensive alignment, and the kind of tactical preparation that wins games at the highest level. Their pitcher was sharp. Their defense was positioned correctly. Their dugout was alive with energy and belief. For the first portion of the game, that belief held. Taiwan competed. They stayed in the game. They executed their plan with discipline and focus. The crowd responded. The momentum felt balanced. And for a brief, genuine moment, it seemed like Taiwan's preparation might be enough. Then Ohtani stepped into the batter's box with that look in his eyes. Every great hitter has a tell. A moment before contact where experienced watchers can sense something is about to happen. A slight shift in stance. A different quality of focus. A subtle change in the way they hold their hands or load their weight. With Ohtani, the tell is in his eyes. When he is simply putting the ball in play, working a count, being disciplined and professional, his expression is controlled and neutral. But when he decides to fully commit, when he locks onto a pitch and makes the internal decision to unleash everything, something changes in his face. The focus intensifies to a degree that looks almost frightening from the pitcher's mound. Taiwan's pitcher saw it. Pitchers always see it, even if only for the fraction of a second before it is too late. The pitch came in. Whatever the intended location was, whatever the plan called for at that moment, the execution was close enough that on any other day, against any other hitter, it might have worked. But Ohtani's swing was already committed, already fully loaded, already inevitable. When the bat made contact, the sound that filled the stadium was different from every other batted ball in the game. It was deeper, more resonant, the kind of sound that does not just reach your ears but moves through your chest. Players in both dugouts looked up simultaneously. Fielders did not move because movement would have been pointless. Every eye in the stadium followed the same upward arc. The ball did not just leave the park. It left with authority, with finality, with the kind of distance and trajectory that communicates something beyond the simple mathematics of home run distance. Communicated dominance. It communicated the brutal, beautiful, undeniable truth that Shohei Ohtani operating at full capacity is something that preparation alone cannot solve. Taiwan's dugout went quiet in an instant. Not the quiet of a team regrouping or refocusing. The quiet of a team that has just had something taken from them. Not just runs. Not just momentum. Something deeper. The belief that their plan was enough. The confidence that their preparation had closed the gap. One swing erased all of it. There is a specific kind of moment in competitive sports that coaches and players describe privately but rarely discuss publicly. It is the moment when belief becomes pretense. When the gap between what you hoped was possible and what is actually happening becomes too wide to bridge with willpower alone. Taiwan hit that moment the second Ohtani's ball cleared the fence. It was not that their players stopped competing. They did not. Taiwan's roster is filled with professionals who understand that the game continues regardless of what has just happened. They kept playing. They kept executing their responsibilities on the field. But something in the emotional architecture of their game shifted irreversibly in that moment. The crowd, which had been loud and energized and genuinely believing in something, adjusted. Not silence, but a different kind of noise. The noise of people recalibrating their expectations in real time. Of fans who came to the stadium carrying the hope of an upset suddenly confronting the reality of what they are watching. Because Ohtani's swing did not just score runs. It communicated a message that traveled from the field into the stands and from the stands back through the broadcast into living rooms and sports bars around the world. The message was simple and undeniable. There is a level of baseball that exists beyond what most people get to see regularly. A level where physical gifts, mental preparation, competitive fire, and pure instinct combine into something that stops being ordinary greatness and becomes something else entirely. Something that the word exceptional cannot quite contain. Something that requires different language altogether. A Taiwan fan found that language afterward, sitting in the stands still processing what they had witnessed. He is like a baseball god. To understand why Ohtani's full swing produces this kind of reaction, you have to understand what separates it mechanically and athletically from even the best hitters in the world. Most elite hitters generate power through one primary physical attribute. Exceptional bat speed, extraordinary strength, perfect timing mechanics, elite pitch recognition. The very best hitters combine 2 or 3 of these attributes at a level above their peers. Ohtani combines all of them simultaneously at the highest possible level. His bat speed is measured among the fastest in MLB. His raw strength, developed through a training regimen that borders on obsessive in its discipline and detail, allows him to drive pitches to all fields with equal authority. His pitch recognition, sharpened by years of also being a pitcher himself and understanding exactly how pitchers think and plan, gives him an analytical advantage at the plate that most hitters simply do not have. But beyond the physical and analytical components, Ohtani possesses something that cannot be coached or measured in a laboratory. He has the ability to elevate his performance in exact proportion to the magnitude of the moment. Regular season games bring one version of Ohtani. Playoff pressure brings a sharper version. And international competition, wearing Japan's uniform with a nation watching, brings the version that produces grand slams in WBC opening rounds and full swings that return entire teams to reality. His former pitching coach once described it this way: when Ohtani decides a moment is important, he does not just rise to it. He consumes it. He makes it his. And everyone else on the field, regardless of which side they are on, becomes a supporting character in a story he is writing. There is something specific that happens to Shohei Ohtani when he puts on the Japan national team jersey that goes beyond patriotism or national pride in the traditional sense. Ohtani grew up in Ashu, a city in Iwate Prefecture in northern Japan. He did not come from baseball royalty or a major metropolitan program. He came from a place where hard work and focus were the primary tools available, where dreaming big was encouraged, but the path to making those dreams real required something exceptional from within. He promised himself, and reportedly promised those around him, that he would not just reach the highest level of baseball, but that he would represent Japan in a way that made people proud. Not comfortable pride. Not passive appreciation. The kind of pride that makes people emotional. The kind that stops them in the middle of their day when a highlight comes across their screen. When he swings fully in a Japan uniform on a stage like the WBC, with Taiwan across the field and the world watching, that promise is what powers the swing. Every muscle memory built over thousands of hours of training. Every adjustment made after failure. Every dawn practice session and every late-night film study. It all comes through the bat at the moment of contact. That is why it sounds different. That is why it lands differently. That is why it returns teams to reality and makes fans reach for language that sounds like mythology. Ohtani's swing against Taiwan does not just live in the moment it occurred. It sends ripples forward through every remaining game in the bracket. Every pitching staff still in the tournament watched that swing. Every manager had a conversation with their coaching staff about what adjustments were possible. Every catcher spent time reviewing sequencing options and trying to identify an approach that had not already been tried and already been defeated. And every honest answer to every one of those conversations arrives at the same uncomfortable conclusion that the United States manager already voiced openly after facing Ohtani himself. There is no way to stop him. You can make him work. You can extend counts. You can avoid his most comfortable zones and force him into uncomfortable counts. You can do everything correctly and execute your plan with precision. And Ohtani will still find a way because that is what he does. That is what he has always done. That is what wearing that uniform and carrying that flag demands from him, and he has never once failed to answer that demand. For Japan, this swing is confirmation of what they already knew. Their best player is ready. Their centerpiece is locked in. And the path to defending their championship runs directly through Ohtani's ability to keep doing exactly what he did against Taiwan. When people use the word God in the context of sports, it is usually hyperbole. It is emotion speaking before logic can intervene. It is the immediate, unfiltered response to something witnessed that does not fit inside ordinary categories. But sometimes, in rare and extraordinary moments, the hyperbole lands exactly where it was aimed. Shohei Ohtani stood in the batter's box against Taiwan, in the World Baseball Classic, with a nation behind him and a world watching. And he swung. Fully. Completely. Without hesitation and without mercy. Taiwan believed they were ready. One swing returned them to reality. The stadium felt it. The broadcast captured it. Fans across the world watched it and reached for the only language that felt adequate. A baseball god. Not because he is infallible. Not because he never fails or never struggles. But because on the days when everything comes together, when the stage is big enough and the flag is on his back and the moment demands everything he has, Shohei Ohtani delivers something that transcends the ordinary boundaries of the sport. He delivers the kind of swing that awakens you, that pulls you out of whatever you were thinking and forces you to be fully present for what you are witnessing. The kind of swing that will live in highlight reels for decades and in the memories of everyone who saw it for the rest of their lives. Taiwan came to play baseball. Ohtani reminded them and reminded the entire world that on certain days against certain players in certain moments baseball becomes something more. One swing. That is all it took. And the world felt every single inch of it.